short days.
You need to head south for some hikes and some. Man, you guys want to look in water? Yeah.
That guy's at work. Southern Utah things going on. Yeah, I should.
I threatened
In the
them
break room. Yeah.
last year and couldn't let me try again this year. So I could just get rid of it.
Just use a headlamp a lot this time of year, but it's just not the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hecklers.
Ripple faces out.
Oh, really?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for coming tonight and meeting our mayor and city council candidates. We are going to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, which Stephanie will lead us in, Councilmember Allred. Excuse me. And we are the moderators for this evening are going to be our youth council, 4 members of our youth council, and they will be reading questions, which the council will have 2 minutes to answer on each question. We will alternate who starts, but to begin with, after Stephanie does a pledge, we will have them introduce themselves. They will take 2 minutes to just give a brief introduction, and we'll start with Councilmember Osborne. So, Stephanie.
So do you want us just to stay up here? Okay, it would get kind of cumbersome going up and down. And just so I know and the other are aware, you just want us to introduce ourselves? Do you want us to make an opening statement? What would you like us to do?
Introduce yourselves and
Okay.
you'd like the audience to know about you.
Okay. All right. My name is Gerald Osborne, and I've lived here in Hyde Park for 45 plus years, and I've seen Hyde Park how it was back then, and I've seen a lot of great people move into our community and add to it, and so I feel just having the history and growing up here and having a good experience, I want to try to, make that the same for other generations going forward. So,
My name's Kevin Flint. My wife Sheridine and I moved to Hyde Park. I'm a youngster in Hyde Park. I've only been here 18 years. So I'm kind of new to town compared to some of these guys, but we've loved Hyde Park. The reason that I'm running for city council is essentially just because we have such a great community, and I'd really like to just give back and serve. I've had the opportunity to attend most of the city council and the planning and zoning meetings the last 6 months. So I feel like I'm pretty much up to speed on the projects and the challenges and the priorities that the council and planning and zoning have been working on the last few weeks. And I've also been on the fringes of city business really for the last 10 years, following what's been happening in the community. I have just 2 or 3 priorities that I think we need to pay attention to when it comes to the council and the mayor. And And those are outlined in our write-up. But first of all, I think it's really important that we protect our liberty and our freedom under the Constitution. It's important that we protect our property rights. It's important that we manage the growth that we're experiencing in the city right now. And I think we need to encourage some businesses to come down here on the highway so we can increase our sales tax revenue. But I just look forward to the opportunity to speak with you on some questions tonight, and look forward to the opportunity to serve. Appreciate it.
I'm Bob Christensen. I guess I'm the old timer here. I moved here in 1963. There was only about 750 people in Hyde Park at that time. Everybody knew everybody and their kids and everything else. But I'm a retired aerospace engineer and educator. I was pleased to be able to have two very good careers. I've served on the city council for 3 terms and a year as mayor when the incoming mayor, Brian, for his job had to leave, and I filled in for him then and finished out his term. The reason that I like to do is I believe in service to all. I've been a member of the Hyde Park Lions Club for over 50 years, and we serve the community as best we can. And I like to give back for all the great things that Hyde Park has provided for me, for all my children as they've grown up here, the safety we feel here in Hyde Park. And I think we need to continue to look to keep the atmosphere that we have. Even though growth comes, we can still maintain our atmosphere of a small community. It's getting tougher and tougher to do, but we need to do those things. And I just appreciate the opportunity to serve in any capacity that I can do.
Hi, I'm Brian Cox. Like many of all these people, we've lived in Hyde Park, my wife and I, for 23 or 4 years. And to say just a little bit about me, I've served on the city council for a term, and then I served 7 years. 1 3/4 terms. 1 3/4. But I was offered a great job being a program manager at Marshall Space Flight Center. I went there. I'm still doing it, but I'm doing it from home. And I like that, and I don't need to go back. I'm like many people, I've hit those magical numbers. So my intent is, and my wife's intent, we're staying here in Hyde Park, and that was good. But now we're here for the long haul as well, although we've been here for a long haul. Hopefully it's a lot longer for us still. The why would I run? My son actually asked me that same thing. Dad, why you? And I went through the normal things. Man, we got some great projects going on, and we're going to grow. Whether we like it or not, we're going to grow. How we grow is up to us, and I thought about all those things, but it really came down to we can all do those things, but why you, Dad? And I thought about that, and I thought, you know what? I raised 4 kids here in this town, and it's a pretty great town to have kids in. And we're blessed enough to have all of our grandchildren, 8 grandchildren, growing up here too, right now. And I want them to have the same experience that my children had growing up, whether it's ice blocking up at Frog Pond. Newer people know it as Lions Park. Frog Pond, Budge Hill, sledding down there, or at the park, doing city celebrations, youth city councils, all these things. It's a great community to be in, and I love that part about it. I love the town. I love how it's like Cheers. Everybody knows your name, whether you like it or not. Everybody knows who you are. So I like that part. It's a great community. We're close to Logan. We're far enough away. We get to have that character as our community, and I want to help us maintain that. Even as we grow, we can still maintain that. That should be our number one goal, to maintain our character. What makes Hyde Park home? There's a lot of great towns in this valley. What makes it home? That's what we need to preserve. And that's why I'm doing what I'm trying to do.
Okay, we all know that growth is happening. Whether we like it or not, it is happening. And we as a city need to make educated decisions on what that growth looks like. What are some of your ideas of financial, sustainable development and smart growth?
Okay, I guess I'm up. I think, yeah, as I've talked to several people, growth has been a big concern. I know there's a lot of people concerned about the growth and the water situation and some things that have come up this year. But the whole valley's growing. The whole state of Utah is growing. We've been discovered, and we've been discovered in Cache Valley, and along with that, Hyde Park's been discovered. And it's kind of like Brian said, it's because we have a unique community that people just really want to live in, and we're in a situation where our kids want to even move here. And so as we grow, I think it's going to be really important. We're at a crossroads right now where we can really plan how we're going to grow. And we can do that really by getting the input of our citizens. The mayor and the council, I think, have done a great job up to this point. They've got a meeting planned for November the 9th. That brings the whole community in to get ideas on how you feel like we should grow and what we should be doing, and I fully endorse that. It gives us an opportunity to bring everybody together. We all, everybody out there has ideas on what we need for roads and what we need for parks and what we need for trails and what we need for housing, and I from my standpoint, I feel like we just really need to get your input, get your ideas, and try and work with that, because we can all decide together what the town's going to look like in the next few years, just in what happens in the next probably 1 or 2 years as we're presented with that challenge. And then as we do that, it's going to be important to protect our personal property rights and be kind and considerate as we go along and do this. There's going to be challenges, there's going to be problems. One of the things that I learned, that as a government and as a member of the council or the mayor or anybody else, sometimes we're going to make mistakes because we're people, and people are people. But if we work together and we're patient, I think we're all going to have a great opportunity to put together how the community grows and what we can do.
As growth occurs, I think if we manage it correctly, it'll work out just really fine. We have to make sure that we follow the ordinances that we have and make sure that we hold those developers and that accountable to do the things that they need to do to maintain the integrity that we have here in Hyde Park. There's so many diverse types of projects going on right now that it needs to be carefully monitored and make sure that it doesn't leave Hyde Park out in the left field make sure that the developers and that take care of what they should. I know there's been several times as developers have come and gone, they've left Hyde Park holding the bag, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. We want to maintain that rural feeling, even though we're not what you'd say rural per se anymore, but you can still own a horse and get on a horse and ride around town and enjoy each other's company as you get to know your neighbors. And I think we need to listen to the citizens on their concerns. And if they need something changed, help them to realize and understand the process that goes into changing things, and not just go ahead and do it on their own. And we need to also maintain, like Kevin said, the integrity and property rights that is guaranteed to each one of us.
Growth, that's we're all experiencing it. I learned a couple weeks ago that I think nationally the growth has been 7.4%, that cities have been looking to try and get housing. Utah leads the nation. We're at 18.4 for the last 2 years. That's crazy. Now, add that, in the last 20 years, 500,000 people have moved to Utah. So your secret's out. It's a pretty good place to live. And as they've said, we're going to grow. They're coming here. The challenge we have is these youth city council. Man, we want them to go to school, do great things, change the world, but we want you to have a mailbox in Hyde Park. How can they afford it? How can they afford it with the escalations of prices? We got to figure out how do we meet all of the groups for some affordable housing, middle income housing. The higher income housing always takes care. That's not the issue. It's kids getting out of college, starting their first careers. How are we going to do that? We got to figure it out, and we need to lean into it. Otherwise, we're going to have the state of Utah tell us how we're going to do it, much like they did in House Bill 82. They're telling us how to manage, how everyone is now, cities cannot stop somebody from renting out basements. That's state law. Yeah, we can either lean into it and figure out how we're going to grow. We're going to grow, but we get to do the how. We either lean into it or we get what the state's gonna give us. So we gotta figure this out. I know a lot of that concern and issue, we need retail businesses, and been fortunate enough to be able to work with our current mayor right now on some businesses coming in. All of those are contingent on rooftops. You know, they need customers there. What's the drawing power? So there's good and bad challenges that we have, growth, water, all of these things, we have to figure out what's the right mix, how we do it. So I think in the past I've been able to be successful, but that by no means tells us what our future holds. Success of the past doesn't mean you're going to be any good in the future. So I'm hoping to lean into it and have good counsel, good community input, how we can resolve some of these problems and capture these young people when they get done with college, where they're going to live. We want to be here, or we want our children to live here. I'm fortunate to have my children around here in the valley and in our community. I'm sure most people want to have that blessing too. Sorry.
Okay, I think probably one of the key things in that question was talking about how to manage growth smartly. And I think that there's a lot of things that we as a council can do, as we can reach out to other cities that have experienced this, that maybe have gone a little further down the road, and I have visited with some of them, and they do have things that they wish they would have done differently. So I think it's really smart to learn from other people, other cities, and what they have done. Also, I think that one real big asset that we have as a city is we have a lot of smart people in this city. And as Kevin mentioned, the city has a meeting planned on November 9th for people to come and to look at some of the proposals, to give input. And so everything is really on the table. And so I hope all of you will mark that down and share that information with your neighbors and get them to come out on November 9th to be able to take advantage of the citizens and what they think and what they feel. Certainly, we want to hear their concerns, but we also want to hear their solutions, what they would like to see. And so once we decide maybe a general direction we'd like to go, there's another body here in the city called the Planning and Zoning, and they spend a lot of time talking about and discussing how to address things that they've been given to try to put together and into an ordinance type form, and then it's brought before the city council to vote on that. And so that's probably one thing I've really learned, is that there's a lot behind the scenes that takes place, and a lot of work, and so I really appreciate the efforts that they make to spend so much time on that.
All right. If we don't have enough water for current residents, how will we handle the new builds?
We do have enough water. It's how we use the water that we have, I think, that's a problem. If we all conserve water, we'll make it through okay. And this last storm Tuesday should help. If it starts out this way, hopefully we'll get enough snowpack. We have 2 operating wells that are great. They're putting in a 3 million gallon reservoir up Hyde Park Canyon that is getting ready now to be finished, of which they will pump water up into it. But unless we all pitch in and conserve our drinking water, we'll always have a problem, in that we will probably have to go on rationing sometime if it continues to do such. So I just would encourage everyone to do their very best as far as conserving drinking water. Okay.
Do we have 2 minutes? Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay. Since I can't hear an alarm, it's like, okay. Water, that's that tough issue right now. We have water, as Councilman Christian, I served on the council with him. As Bob said, we've got water. Where's our water? Our water's down behind the post office, down here low. The things the city is doing right now, putting in the pipeline, putting in the another water tank, that allows us to have our distribution system in the right place. It's not creating more water though. That it's not doing. Interesting that the city we've increased by 4% on hookups. So if that's 4% of hookups, but each one of those is bringing 3.8% 8 people per hookup on the house. So now it comes out quite high. But so in the last year we've increased by 4% in our connections. our water consumption, and I think there's some error because of the way the city meters and water measures it. Our consumption has increased 30%. So even if there's a 10% error in there, and we're overestimating it by 10%, 20% for 4% hookup, we're consuming a lot of water. So things that the city needs to do, and I know the mayor's been doing this now, coming up with a Xeriscape ordinance for new houses. We have the water for the interior. The city could about run on the spring water in the wintertime. Everybody utilizing that on a normal water year. It is our addiction to green grass, watering. So we need to figure out how we can educate people about watering and getting ordinances, and potentially looking as a city to drill another well. Where? Hopefully where there's water, but we'll find that out.
Okay. So they have talked a little bit about our usage of water, and I think that is really important. And I think it's important for the citizens to know that, you know, our current mayor and the council have been dealing with a lot of different issues regarding the water and trying to address it going forward. I know that in many meetings, city council meetings, that when, you know, I brought this same question up is, you know, are we gonna have enough water for a full build out if everybody's build out? And just try to assure you that that's something that will be looked at ongoing all the time. And but I would just like you to try to be mindful about how you conserve water. Certainly the lawns that people water with the city water really is the thing that really pushes us over the top with having an issue this summer. But one thing that I've been mindful about is like how I brush my teeth. Am I leaving the water on while I brush my teeth? You know, how long are you spending in the shower each morning? And things like that. Those are all things that if we're just a little bit more thinking about when we're using the water, I think that we could, even though in times when we have plenty of water, I think it's a good idea to try to kind of develop better habits in how that we use our water. So that's what I have to say.
I think I just wanted to mention as I lean into this, I think the mayors and the council have done a great job of planning ahead for the use of the water. You know, the new tank and the lines and the new pumps that are being installed now were actually planned and put in motion several months ago in anticipation of the growth and the things that they knew that were coming along. I don't think anybody anticipated that we'd ever have the drought that we had this year, which is obviously magnified some of the weakness in the system. But if I were on the council, I'd like to continue to see us expand the system, pay good attention to the pumps, the tanks. As Brian mentioned, the possibility of drilling more wells, or at least a well, and get the distribution out there as well as we can. The conservation's been mentioned. That's a really important thing that we need to be taking a look at. I know in one of the meetings, the numbers actually state that in the use of the water, 60% of the water gets used outside of our house, and only 40% of the water gets used inside. And so that's how we can scoot through the winter on low water, and then the summer comes and we're putting it all outside. And so we need to definitely continue the conservation efforts. Going forward, if we can drill a well and keep the system expanded, I think that's going to help us. There may be more conservation. If we happen to get into 2 or 3 drought years, then that's going to make us relook at things and make us maybe take a look at more drastic measures, including maybe curtailing the demand for water. So, you know, only time's going to tell on that, but I think we're heading in a good direction that way.
What are your plans for the future of Hyde Park City?
I didn't hear you.
Could we repeat that?
My bad. What are your plans for the future of Hyde Park City?
Is it me? We're gonna annex North Logan's business district. A hostile takeover. Plans, there's a line between, as a city, what does the city plan to do? I don't wanna infringe on people's rights, whether they want to develop their property. If someone has 25 acres, they wanna develop it, well, it's gonna impede my view. Well, I should have bought my view. But we want people to have the rights, but we gotta be able to plan forward. How are we going to grow into it? For the city, some of the small things that make our city what's great, our city celebration, I think that's a wonderful thing that we do. Youth City Council years ago, Stephanie, putting that together. What a great thing for the youth, teaching them leadership, organization, helping them, and which helps other citizens. I think that's great. I think my plan is to try and maintain our character as a city, yet lean into our growth so that we can do it as we want to and not as developers or the state mandates us to do it. Build on that character, which is part of the problem that we have, is everybody wants to be here because it's such a great community. That's a challenge, but that's one we can all live with. If that's the worst thing that's going for us, I think we can handle that one. But we got to be able to grow the way the city wants to.
Okay, back 4 years ago when I was first voted in to the city council, I had to take a minute once I knew I had won, and I realized that the citizens of Hyde Park had voted me to represent them and to make good decisions in behalf of the city. And some of that involves making sure that the money that we have is used wisely. That money comes from the citizens. And also that we as a city, we take care of kind of the core basic things the city is responsible for, like the water that we just talked about, the sewer system, the roads, the police, parks. And so I think that going forward, I think that the basics need to be taken care of and looked at. But some of the issues that we do face is growth and how we're gonna grow. And so that needs to be, something that we are constantly working on, and we talk about it quite often. Recently, we just returned from the League of Cities and Town meetings, and every breakout session time there was some type of thing talking about the growth, the lack of housing in the state of Utah. I think they said there's like a shortage of about 44,000 homes in the state of Utah at this time, and so people are needing a place to live, and so we need to decide how we can help address that. And like Brian was talking about, sometimes we did have a state legislator there in some of these meetings talking about, cities, we need you guys to step up and try to help address this issue that we have. And he, this particular representative, didn't want to put, force behind through law to make the cities do something that maybe they don't want to do. And so they're really kind of putting it on us as cities to make those decisions ourselves. And so I think that's something that we need to look forward in the future to take care of. And certainly my responsibility on the council right now is roads, and so when you have roads, they wear out and they have to be taken care of. So I just had to get that road thing in. Okay.
I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think, yeah, as alluded to already, you know, of course, obviously, we've got to provide our basic utilities and give our citizens, you know, what we need as far as road maintenance and those types of things. I'm also a little bit, but I am, and I think we're well on the way with that. I'm a little bit concerned. Right now, we've got a police department that's a little bit underfunded, undermanned. Works with our police department takes more calls in the valley than any other police department in the whole county. And I would really like to find a way to help increase our patrol officers and some funding for our police department. And help them as best we can. We have a safe community, and I think part of the reason for that is because of the police department that we have, and I'd really like to help and build and work with them, continue to help the fire department with what they're doing. I think we've all alluded to the fact that I would really like to see some more business down on the highway, maybe possibly along the new CMPO road. There's some options and possibilities to bring some sales tax revenue in, and I think we can build the entrance of our community down there to have a really good look, so when people come in, they see not just Maverick, but they see some other neat things. And I think there's an opportunity for a lot of the citizens to give us some input on what that's going to look like. I'm really I feel like to get a good feel for the community, I'd like to see our trail system continue to build. We've looked at, in the past, the city's looked at trails along the old canal banks, and there's property rights issues and some things there, but that we can work on those. We've got a new trail up in Hyde Park Canyon. There's some things happening to bring the Bonneville Shoreline Trail across, and there's even some ways that we can probably look at putting some trails down here in town, and I think that really enhances our community when we do that. And then just basically, like I said, I always go back to this, but I think it's really important for us to go back to your input as we do this and help us understand how this is going to feel and look. Thank you.
I think we need to keep Hyde Park the same atmosphere and camaraderie that brought each one of us here to Hyde Park, as we looked at it when we moved our families here and became citizens of Hyde Park. All we had to do is look around at the tree limbs and things that have gone down, and the neighbors helping neighbors, and complete strangers pitching in and helping each other. And I'd like to see that continue and to help. There's many opportunities if we can increase the businesses to get that tax revenue and advance that way. We need to live within our means and do what we can to help maintain Hyde Park to be the Hyde Park that each one of us have become to love and know. So.
What have your decisions been as you faced your past 4 years' assignments?
Okay, so you're asking us to talk about maybe decisions that have been made in the past 4 years? Okay, all right. Well, probably one of the biggest decisions that I had to help make, and so I certainly don't want to take all credit, because there's a lot of people involved with this decision or any decision that takes place. But one of the things that I noticed in our city is that we are getting a lot of development up high. And with that, we have a lot of people leaving to go to work each day and then coming home each night, which causes a lot of traffic going east and west through our city. And the roads that we have are pretty limited for that. And so when we had an opportunity to put in our 600 South Road, and one that has the roundabouts coming up from Green Canyon, I really felt strongly that we needed to do that project so that that the traffic could get in and out of there better, and then the existing citizens down lower wouldn't be so impacted by the growth that took place up there. And so that's probably one of the decisions that I had to sit through, and many meetings and discussions to make that decision to go forward with that.
Well, since I haven't been on the council the last 4 years, I can get a little bit creative with this. Goes along with my desire to be on the council, but I have been closely associated with some decisions that have been made in the city the last 10 years. Just being married to who I've been married to those last few years, and I've watched some great things happen. And I think, and what the very first thing that came to mind is what Gerald mentioned, is the new road that can bring traffic from the east to the west. That's just been a fabulous thing. It's kept some of the North Logan traffic off of our roads. It's given us an opportunity to get down to the highway as an alternative. And I think those roads priorities are going to be really, ongoing. The other thing that I've seen happen, we've seen some real nice parks and trails come out. We've got a brand new park down on 6 South. It's just beautiful. People think it's in North Logan, and Mayor Wheeler gets the opportunity to remind them that no, that park's in Hyde Park. And it just gives us another little tidbit of a quality of life that we enjoy that's been done in the last few years. I think it's been really important for the planning of the water tank and the pumps to go in. And we've got the CMPO road that's actually called, some of you would know it as Wolfpack Way, that's going to come across and come back into the community. That's going to give us some opportunities. And we're not far out of that. So there's been some really good things happening. I know there's plans and desires going forward for some more great things in the next 4 years. Thank you.
I too have not been on the council for the last 4 years, but have observed the many things that have been going on. Of course, right now is the building of the reservoir up Hyde Park Canyon, and the ease of which the traffic, even though it gets very congested down where I live at times, especially when the elementary school is just about to get out. There's no parking spot anywhere on 2nd West for about 2.5 blocks. So, but I've noticed the increased ability of the police department to maintain the flow of traffic. And personally, I feel safer as they've done this. I've noticed we've gone ahead, even though we were in a pandemic last year. We still had a celebration, and we were all safe and did things as they should be. And I too have watched the 200 East come across the Wolfpack Way, and look forward to having that come into the community. I know when I go into Logan, I use that 90-some-odd% of the time because of the traffic down on 91, but that's all.
So I came on the city council when, by unfortunate events actually, when the mayor passed away and Charles filled into the mayor's position, and I then volunteered to fill into Charles's position on city council. But since that time, there's been a few things that have come up, one of which we're right in the throes of, is how's the roundabout gonna look coming into Hyde Park from Maverick coming up? There's gonna be a roundabout there. What's it gonna look like? We're right in the middle of that decision, and Kevin alluded to it. On November 9th, we're gonna have renderings here. Please come, provide some input. We'll have those here for citizens to give us some thoughts and ideas. I was part of the decision with Charles, and I think Gerald was there as well when we met with the engineering firm to discuss what are going to be the future needs, how do we design that. I'm going to answer a little bit different since what I'm running for, being mayor, I have a fiscal responsibility. My personal views, my wife and I, we run our home pretty tight, and we think being fiscally sound, being out of debt is a solid thing. When I was mayor before, working with Danya, really Danya, the person, we got the city out of debt. We've incurred some debt. We had to because of the water tank, all of this growth. As we move forward with all these projects, roads, sewer, infrastructure, park, we need to have somebody keeping an eye on, are we getting this debt down? We don't need to be in a struggle. We were out of debt once before. We can do it again. How? It's going to be a lot more challenging, but I think being fiscally sound from the mayor perspective, giving the council good ideas to move forward on is an important aspect.
All right, thank you. We're going to take, each of them are going to be able to finish up with anything they'd like to let you know in the next 2 minutes. So anything that you feel like you haven't covered, here's your chance, or just to put in a plug.
I got really bad grades in high school. Changed it around.
Okay. Who would you like to start, Danya? Okay. Probably the thing that I would just like to say is that, anybody up here I really believe has the Hyde Park in their best interest, and I think that no matter who you choose, you're going to be just fine. I guess maybe the one thing that I wanted to mention is that the citizens of Hyde Park also have a big role in the way our city is, the feel of it and how we treat each other is really important. And just, following the laws and the ordinances and the rules that we have just really make for a lot better community. I oftentimes get an email about, people speeding, or we want stop signs here or there. And sometimes it's people from outside our community, but a lot of them are just here with inside our community. And so my encouragement is that we all kind of look at how we go about our business through the city and how we treat other people, and that would be something that the citizens could do, and I just really encourage that. And if you go out to our city website, there's a lot of good information out there about what's going on in our city, and I would encourage you to do that. Our emails are out there so that you can contact the city council, the mayor, if you have concerns, and then we can try to address them. Sometimes the requests are they're all looked at, but sometimes we're just not able to do it. It's not deemed to be the right choice. but we certainly try to address your concerns.
I'd just like to emphasize again my desire to serve the community. I think that's been really important in our family, and well, I'd like to really continue to do that just because we have such great people. I would like to mention, even though I haven't served on the council, I have served in some other capacities around the valley as far as being on the board of directors for like the Cache Chamber of Commerce and some nonprofit organizations. It's given me some opportunities. My profession's helped me with budgeting and some economic development things that I believe that can help us, you know, on the council. But I think really it's kind of, we've all kind of mentioned it, but it's really important to me to just listen to you and what you have to say about what needs to happen. Your thoughts and ideas are really important. You know, I'm not on the council at this point. I'm amazed at how many people have called me and given me their ideas already. And I think that's fantastic. So we just want to come to the best solution for the city. I feel like that we just need to do what's right and what makes sense when we're faced with the challenges and the things that we need to do, and we need to be good neighbors. You know, Stephanie does the Good Neighbor Award. There's lots of opportunities for us to be good neighbors, and we've all kind of mentioned to that. So I just appreciate your consideration. I agree with Gerald. There's some great experience and some really good opportunities, some good people here that can serve you. Thank you.
As I mentioned before, I believe in service, and I also believe to be open to anyone that has a concern that they can come talk to me, and if it happens to be my area that I'm assigned to, if I'm elected, I'll take the bull by the horns and see if I can find out why the things are. If not, I'll point them to the councilman that is. I think as they have mentioned before, the key thing to this is to listen to the citizens and to be good neighbors regardless of where you live or whatever, and try to help everyone as best you can. And I'd appreciate your vote if you so desire. If not, these others will do a good job too, I'm sure. That's all.
So I'd say the same as what they've said. All three of these people are my friends today, and after the elections, they're still my friends. They are still my friends, and all three are going to serve somehow, some way. City's always looking for people to serve, and that's why we keep rosters on who comes to these meetings. So, I'm just kidding you. I think as I originally contemplated running for this, and I joked, yeah, I wasn't a great high school student, but when I found out what my why I do what I'm going to do, when I found out what my why is, I was a pretty good student. Went on and received a couple master's degrees. Didn't graduate with honors in high school, but I could do so in college because I had a why. I know what my purpose was, and I feel like I'm coming into this having a purpose of what I want to accomplish, have a why. How are we going to do it? Elected great people, get great advice, and try and move forward with the progress in the city, keep our character. As long as we know what that why is, why we're great. It's the people. We could live anywhere. It's the people that make home home. A lot of houses, same roads and streets, North Logan, Providence. But what makes it home? It's y'all. That's what makes it home. So having that purpose as mayor of what we want to accomplish is very important to me. So I appreciate your input always, anytime, and we'll all try to work together. It's not just council, it's planning and zoning, the city office, the staff, they're absolutely amazing. When things are going great, it's usually them. When they're not, it's probably somebody from the council, or they do an amazing job. So we all work together to make this a great place to be, and that's what's important.
All right, thank you all for coming. A special thanks to the Youth Council for doing this. Kaylin, Kira, Hannah, and Matt, you're awesome. Thank you. Thank you for helping
Thank you.
out. Appreciate it. And then, of course, a very special thank you to those willing to put their name out there. If you guys knew how much work the council and the mayor do for the little tiny bit of pay they get, it is really amazing. It is complete service, and so I personally appreciate them so much, and appreciate that they're putting their name out there, willing to serve us all. So thank you all for
Thank you,
coming.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Get those unruly pumpkins under control. Get those unruly pumpkins under control.
It'll turn out the way it's supposed to, I guess.
I guess I'll get with you guys no matter what happens.